Merci. Podemos nosotros invitar a mi iglesia, nuestras actuaciones,
Those two women were Chagossian Alexis and Rita Bancu, who are two Chagossian women currently living in poverty in exile in Mauritius. They are both leaders in the fight for the Chagossian fight for return. They are speaking in Chagossian Creole, and the song that you heard at the beginning of my presentation was a Sega song in Chagossian Creole. In 1966, the US and Britain made an agreement to cooperate in finding a suitable location for a military base in the Indian Ocean. They were motivated by the desire to reduce Soviet influence in and around the Indian Ocean, particularly in the Middle East, to ensure secure oil supplies to the West, and allow the US to fill the anticipated power vacuum that would follow the British withdrawal from the region in the 70s. Added to these, a recent motivation has been to ensure the military supremacy that the US currently holds in the region. Their final choice in islands was Diego Garcia. Through lies and covert actions, the US and UK managed to keep their agreement, which I've given you the beginning paragraphs and the last paragraphs of here on the slide. They were able to keep it secret, or at least unclear enough to make it until they could complete their plans before any objections could be made. In order to have their base, they created a new colony, the British Indian Ocean Territories, an act that contradicts Declaration 1514-9 on granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples, which was passed by the UN General Assembly on December 14, 1960, which called for complete independence of non-self-governing territories such as Mauritius, without alteration of their borders. The British, who had Mauritius as a colony, gave them the condition to their independence, saying that they could have their independence without any problems as long as they didn't lay claims to the Chagos, which technically should have fallen underneath their territorial lines. And as we can see here, it says, any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity and the territorial integrity of the country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations. The British then flatly ignored warnings from the UN not to break up Mauritian territory, because though they were trying to cover it up, somehow the UN heard about it and passed Resolution 2066-10 on December 16, 1965. And I want to point out this last part of the quote, which the group invites the administrating power, that's the British, to take no action which would dismember the territory of Mauritius and violate its territorial integrity. Again, this was completely ignored, and they just continued on with what they were doing. The British governor in charge at the time invented an ordinance that required all people on the island to have permits in order to be on the island, effectively but then did not issue any such permits, and that effectively made illegal immigrants out of every single Chagossian, effectively erasing the islanders' many generations of belonging to the island. Finally, they drove out what population they could by halting supply boats, which carried staples such as rice, cooking oil, matches, and then they used scare tactics, such as exterminating all of the Chagossians' pets, and then terrified them with stories of bombs before finally forcibly deporting the entire population. Today, the island base supports at any given time between 3,000 and 5,000 American troops and civilian support staff. The natural harbor of Diego Garcia, which you can see is very large.